In recent years, the world has watched attentive to the climb of tensions between Israel and Iran. But what happened in the Middle East skies recently left even the most experienced military analysts in shock. In just a few days of operation, Israel not only destabilized Iran's air defenses, but won what every commander dreams and all enemy fears: total supremacy about enemy airspace, including Tehran, the Iranian capital. This is no little. We are talking about one of the countries with one of the most extensive and complex air defenses in the region. Iran had been investing heavily in defense systems for decades, from long-range anti-aircraft batteries to state-of-the-art radar technology, as well as the technical support of partners such as Russia and China. But still, in a matter of days, Israel crossed all these barriers. The protagonist of this lightning campaign was the F-35. But not any F-35. We are talking about the Israeli model, known as F-35I Adir. The acronym Adir means powerful in Hebrew. Israel not only bought the United States F-35, but also customized the aircraft with its own technology, adapting sensors, communication systems, and weapons to meet the specific needs of its missions in the region. This customization was fundamental. F-35's stealth design is already known worldwide because it makes it difficult to detect enemy radars. But Israel went further, incorporated advanced electronic war abilities, network communication with other vectors, and even shipped artificial intelligence systems to optimize pilot decisions on the flight. Thanks to these resources, the F-35I were able to cross the Iranian airspace without being detected. The first operations were surgical. High-value strategic targets such as command and control centers, missile deposits, and radar facilities were accurately neutralized. Before the Iranian military could react, it was too late. But the Israeli attack was not limited to the F-35. While the stealing fighters acted on the front lines, a second layer of the Israeli Air Force came into action. F-15 and F-16 fighters, armed with precision-guided missiles like the famous JDAM, followed right behind, expanding the offensive and ensuring that no target escaped. This combination of stealth with firepower was devastating. But Israel's true differential in this campaign was the total integration of its military capabilities. Even before the first fighters take off, the war had already started in another field: the cyber. Using his advanced electronic war units and cyber defense, Israel launched coordinated attacks to blind the Iranian radars, disable communication systems, and interrupt the enemy chain of command. In other words, when the first F-35 crossed the borders of Iran, the Iranian military were practically deaf and blind. Israeli intelligence also played a central role. Using satellites, electronic recognition, and espionage drones, Israel had a real-time mapping of all Iran's defensive positions. Each anti-aircraft battery, each radar, each operation base was identified, located, and then neutralized. This multifaceted approach has exposed a critical vulnerability in Iranian defenses: the lack of integration between systems. While Israel operated with a high level of communication and coordination between its air, cyber, and intelligence forces, Iran seemed disjointed, unable to set up a coherent and efficient defense. In addition to physical action, Israel used a powerful psychological weapon. One of the first targets was the headquarters of Iranian state TV in Tehran. The goal was clear: to show the Iranian people that not even the regime's propaganda centers were saved. This action has had a huge impact on the morality of the population and also among the Iranian military itself. The message was given: Israel could not only enter and leave the Iranian airspace when he wanted, but would also choose targets with symbolic value to maximize the psychological effect. While the world was still trying to understand the dimension of damage caused in the early hours of the Israeli campaign, the Israel Air Force advanced to the second phase of the operation: the complete neutralization of Iranian critical infrastructures. The immediate focus was clear: to eliminate, with surgical accuracy, long-range missile batteries and early detection radars spread throughout the Iranian territory. These facilities were the heart of Iran's air defense capacity. Without them, the country was practically blind, unable to detect or react to any air foray. Israel knew that these targets were strongly protected by both physical defenses and by electronic camouflage layers. But the combination of real-time intelligence, cyber war, and the F-35 ultramodern sensors has transformed this almost impossible mission into a sequence of successful attacks. While the F-35I led the penetration attacks, the F-15 and F-16 followed with waves of saturation bombing, employing GPS-guided missiles and bunker penetration weapons capable of destroying buried targets to great depths. Parallel to physical attacks, Israel continued his actions in cyberspace. Hackers of Israeli military intelligence elite units, such as the famous 8200 unit, intensified operations to paralyze Iranian command systems. They invaded military networks, disabled power plants that supplied radars and control centers, and in some cases manipulated data to further confuse Iranian troops. This combination of physical and digital attacks has left Iran unable to organize a coordinated response. Several Iranian air bases were left without electricity, without communications, and with unusable landing clues. Iranian fighters that were still operational simply could not take off safely. Another decisive factor was the training of Israeli pilots. Unlike many air forces in the region, Israeli pilots go through one of the most demanding and extensive training programs in the world. They constantly train in scenarios that simulate exactly situations like this: hostile airspace penetration, missile evasion, precision bombing on protected targets. In addition, Israel performs joint exercises with allied countries, learning to operate in multiple war theaters and to deal with air defense technologies similar to those Iran had. Israeli doctrine values the ability to make a rapid decision-making, even under extreme pressure. Pilots are encouraged to think autonomously, quickly adapting to scenario changes, something fundamental in a campaign with so many variables and risks. The morale of the troop was also a differential. While the Iranian forces dealt with chaos and surprise, Israeli riders operated with an unusual level of confidence. The certainty that they had technological superiority, detailed intelligence, and total tactical support was an important psychological fuel for the success of the missions. But the results of this offensive were not restricted to the military field. The strategic impact began to be felt in the diplomatic and geopolitical spheres. The Iranian government was forced to adopt a defensive stance, avoiding scaling the conflict immediately, aware that any miscalculated retaliation could have even more devastating consequences. In the international comparison, many analysts began to draw an inevitable parallel with the Ukraine war. While Russia, even after campaign years, failed to gain total air domain over Ukraine, Israel showed that with the right combination of technology, intelligence, preparation, and strategy, it is possible to achieve complete air supremacy in a short time. This difference even more evidently exposed the importance of full integration between Air Force, electronic war, and cybership in the modern battlefield. The success of Israel's air campaign against Iran was not just a tactical or operational achievement. It was, above all, a demonstration of how modern war evolved into a new level, where the mastery of airspace decides, within days, the course of an entire conflict. With the aerial supremacy won, Israel now has a strategic advantage that goes far beyond the ability to perform airstrikes. Having control of heaven means having freedom of action. Israel can choose where and when attacking, can fly over sensitive installations without being detected, and can continue to neutralize threats even before they materialize. Iran, on the other hand, is in a situation of chronic vulnerability. Its already limited retaliation has been further weakened. Even if they tried to reposition their defenses or move strategic weapons, Israeli intelligence, with its continuous surveillance apparatus by satellites, drones, and electronic espionage, would know in advance. The psychological impact of this new reality is also deep. Knowing that your skies are no longer protected alters the behavior of the Iranian military command. Every strategic movement now needs to be thought of with the fear of a surprise attack from any direction and at any time. In addition, this air supremacy also serves as a direct message to other actors in the region. Countries that for years have questioned or challenged Israel's military capacity now have a new comparison parameter. The message is clear. Israel is willing and trained to perform large-scale offensive operations, even against opponents who were previously considered untouchable. A technical but extremely relevant detail is the speed with which Israel conducted this operation. While traditional aerial campaigns often take weeks or months to establish dominion, Israel has achieved its goals in a matter of days. This speed was decisive to prevent a coordinated response from Iran and to keep the elements surprised until the last moment. The choice of targets also followed a systemic weakening logic. It was not just about destroying military equipment. Israel focused on targets with symbolic and strategic value. Communication centers, ammunition deposits, radar stations, missile launch bases, and command centers. Even government buildings and media were attacked to destabilize the regime on several fronts simultaneously. This method resembles the concept of network war, where different types of force, air, cyber, electronic, and intelligence operate in an interconnected manner, each enhancing the effect of the other. It was exactly this synergy that missed Russia in Ukraine, and now Israel has shown to master with mastery. Looking to the future, Iran will have to completely review its air defense doctrine. Reinforcing only anti-aircraft batteries will not be enough. The country will have to invest heavily in advanced detection systems, in defensive cyber war and modernization of its air force, which, given the international sanctions and the economic difficulties of the regime, will be a huge challenge. Meanwhile, Israel already reaps the fruits of the campaign. In addition to ensuring its national security in the short term, the country has gained a dissuasive power that should last years. Each opponent potential now knows that if it challenges Tel Aviv militarily, it will face an air force with proven capacity to nullify defenses, penetrate hostile airspaces, and destroy strategic targets with surgical speed. For international military analysts, this Israeli operation enters history as one of the most successful examples of integrated air war in the modern era. A case of study for military academies, a warning for nations with conventional defense systems, and a reminder to the world that air superiority remains, perhaps more than ever, the most determining factor on the battlefield. The message that remains is simple and direct. Who dominates the heavens, dominates the war.